Tonight, rate relief for Victorian mortgage holders as the RBA buys more time. The race to save a critically ill Melbourne dad from a Bali holiday nightmare. Cafe chaos in Melbourne's north as a high-speed police chase comes to a crashing end. Families caught up in a Parks Victoria booking meltdown, the latest live. Shock new details on a deadly Lygon Street collision. And Prime Ministers face off over the Ashes stumping scandal.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. Interest rates are on hold tonight, with the Reserve Bank sparing millions of borrowers and raising hope Australia has reached the turning point. The RBA boss says higher interest rates are working to turn the economy around, but he warns more still might need to be done.
For gift shop owner Misha Napthali, an anxious wait,
the Reserve Bank has decided to keep rates on hold.
Brings a welcome gift.
Oh, thank goodness they've decided to hold them.
Governor Philip Lowe on the Reserve Bank board deciding to keep rates on hold for only the second time in 14 months at 4.1%. Some rate relief for people with mortgages and those running small businesses.
It's been a really tough couple of months with consumer spending really down.
The decision follows a sharp drop in monthly inflation in May.
It is still higher than we'd like, and we want to see it moderate further.
The RBA board now waiting for the more definitive quarterly inflation figure next month before deciding whether an unlucky 13th rate rise is needed.
I would still be expecting another 1 or 2 rate rises over coming months.
We're certainly confident about August, and you can't rule out any further hikes after that.
But some new hope tonight. The RBA statement noting, as usual, that more increases may be required, but for the first time noting that the board's watching how the economy and inflation evolve first. Today's decision, the 12th straight UBS's George Tharanu has called correctly.
The hurdle for them to raise rates at each meeting is getting harder. And I think today was pretty clearly a signal for them that they're getting close to the peak in rates.
Cafe owner Angelo Petrides is hoping the rate hikes are over.
Every time they do go up, trade really dies off.
His businesses are right near Parliament House.
The pollies are up on the hill here, very close, but in a different world.
And in the real world, things are tough. Mark Riley, 7 News.
A Melbourne family is pleading for help to get a critically ill father home from a Bali holiday nightmare. He's on life support after collapsing in front of his son, the 10-year-old bravely raising the alarm.
Holiday bliss for this Melbourne family has become a disaster. The family of father of one, Raj Jayaraja, say he's fighting for his life in a Bali hospital. On Friday, he suffered a seizure and collapsed in his hotel room with his 10-year-old son, Ari.
He's hit his head, he's fallen down, and has resulted in a massive brain hemorrhage.
Cool-headed Ari got help straight away for his dad.
I would definitely suggest it would be life-saving, for sure.
The 43-year-old has undergone emergency surgery and is now on ventilation and in an induced coma. An urgent Mercy flight to Melbourne is needed, with his life hanging in the balance. Raj Jayaraja's family say they've borrowed $200,000 to book an air ambulance.
We just can't wait. The family's just organised whatever they can to get him back to a better scenario.
But they're still waiting for Indonesian authorities to grant a permit for the flight.
It's critical. We've just got to get him back. He's got to return as quick as possible.
Raj and wife Emma's insurance company is disputing liability due to a possible pre-existing condition. A GoFundMe page set up to support them has raised more than $150,000 in just 2 days. The flight and hospital bills are expected to cost $250,000. Magical holiday moments from last week seeming like a distant memory.
What's up, girls?
Specialists at the Alfred Hospital are believed to be assisting with the treatment for Raj Jayaraja. The extent of his brain damage is unknown.
He's everything to his family. He's everything to us.
Cameron Bowe, 7 News.
A high-speed police chase across Melbourne has come to a crashing end in a Fitzroy North coffee shop. The driver is accused of clocking 120 kilometres per hour in a 40 zone in a stolen luxury car.
The BMW slammed into the drive-through coffee shop at 1:30 this morning. Police not far behind, rushing to the man behind the wheel.
One of them opened the door and really yelled and pulled him down to the ground and yelled, "Get on the floor, put your hands down." And I could just hear him like swearing and yelling.
Oh my God. It's pretty confronting. So it looks like he did a bit of damage to himself as well.
He was bleeding from his head. It was like dripping down.
The police air wing spotted the BMW at high speed in South Bank, then in Richmond at 120 kilometres an hour in a 40 zone and going through red lights. Officers on the ground tried to stop it on Nicholson Street, Fitzroy North, but the car continued until the crash. Police say despite the distance, it all lasted just 4 minutes. They arrested a 43-year-old man of no fixed address. The car believed stolen from Hyatt a month ago.
Lucky, it was fortunate that he only took out the fence and not the actual structure of the shop.
To see him fully spin out and then hit and see the car fully dented in, I just didn't know how he could be alive after that. It was insane.
The fence slowed the car down, but what really saved the cafe was this bollard, which took the force and snapped off during impact. Now, for repairs, the owner might need his customers.
Well, a lot of them are tradesmen, so I might call on some help.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
There's been a major data breach on the state government's new campsite booking system. Chanel Vella has the details, and Chanel, the meltdown has put the personal details of customers at risk.
Well, Mitch, this was meant to be a new and updated system for campers. Instead, it has outright failed. Customers were kept waiting for hours. When they were finally able to book, they were sent the personal details of other campers. 7 News has been told by several customers that they were able to see the names and addresses of other people using the site, which has now been shut down. In a statement, Parks Victoria said all bookings have now been paused and they've apologised for the inconvenience.
And then it went to booking confirmation. It said you'll get an email. I thought, great. And then it flipped to another screen and it had someone else's personal details. So their full name, their address, their phone number, everything. I don't know how they're going to fix it. I don't know whether they need to go back to the ballot system, but this did not work.
Mitch, Parks Victoria has confirmed all bookings made today will still stand.
Chanel Vella in the newsroom, thank you. Mitchell Gaffney has spoken publicly for the first time since 10 of his friends were killed on the night of his wedding. He joined Zach Bray's family paying tribute to the 29-year-old cancer survivor at a funeral service in New South Wales.
Although you'll never get the chance to pull the jumper on again, you'll always be there by our side.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are grey.
Zach Bray was remembered as a giant of a man. There are new calls to boost police numbers as Victoria's youth crime crisis deepens. Acts of violence committed by children under the age of 13 has more than doubled in a decade.
They're young and they're falling into the justice system. Over the last decade, statistics show a sharp rise in violent crime by young people. Assaults committed by those aged 13 and under rose from 95 in 2013 to 230 in 2022.
On the last budget, there was some $12 million of investment in that early intervention phase. But of course, we've also got a really significant body of investment going into, say, our child protection system.
Aggravated robberies also jumped over the last decade, but the number of overall offenders has dropped by 28%.
We know that the children who are coming into court are less likely to have the supports in place around them, and they're more likely to have experienced a disruptive household.
The state opposition says the 800 vacancies across Victoria Police isn't helping.
For Daniel Andrews and Labor to say that they've given them the resources they need, that's a lie. We need to make sure that the police do get the numbers they need so they can do the proactive programs to prevent crime rather than reactive and arresting them after we've already got more victims across the state.
Experts say supports need to be in place early to help prevent youth crime, but they also want the numbers to be put into perspective.
We're talking about 1% of all crime committed. So that needs to be put into proportion.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
A bitter end to the Ashes test at Lords is threatening to spill over into a political stoush. Britain's Prime Minister is questioning the integrity of Australia's players, but Anthony Albanese is standing proudly with his team.
There was an Australian team back at Lords today, the Melbourne Cricket Club. But the weather was miserable and the stands were empty, a bit like England's complaints.
It was a little bit intimidating. I wasn't in a hurry to go into the long room straight after the game.
That's where the stuffy Lords members booed the Aussies from the field on Sunday and where Usman Khawaja was singled out. 3 members have reportedly been suspended, but countless more breached the legendary Lords rules, which are posted at the gates and clearly state members not engage in any conduct or behaviour which is abusive or threatening. All because of this. Aussie wicketkeeper Alex Carey quite legally running out Johnny Bairstow.
Johnny Bairstow won't like it.
The home of cricket witnessed an act of unsporting treachery by Australia, which got the entire nation raging.
No mention that Bairstow tried to do the same thing to Marnus Labuschagne earlier in the match. The Australian papers are having a field day. Hypocritical, sanctimonious, whinging poms, they say, portraying the English as babies and sooks. Captain Ben Stokes tried to be light-hearted. That's definitely not me, since when did I bowl with the new ball? And a spokesperson for the British Prime Minister says he agrees with Ben Stokes. He simply wouldn't want to win a game in the manner Australia did.
It's a fair dismissal. At the end of the day, that's left up to the umpires, so...
Our Prime Minister retaliated with, "I'm proud of our men's and women's cricket teams and look forward to welcoming them home victorious." There's talk the Australians will be given extra security, and management has asked that what happened at Lords be fully investigated, injecting a whole new level of spite and venom into this Ashes series, with the third test starting at Headingley on Thursday. In London, Sarah Greenhalgh, 7 News.
Back home, police have scaled the roof of a Chadstone restaurant to arrest a trio accused of theft. Fire crews were called in after the 3 got stuck while allegedly attempting to rob the abandoned Hog's Breath Cafe on Warrigal Road. A 38-year-old Cranbourne man and a 50-year-old Chadstone woman are being questioned. The third person remains on the run. Shock new details have been revealed in court about a deadly Lygon Street crash that killed a 16-year-old girl. Police say the accused driver was close to 4 times over the legal alcohol limit and was today denied bail.
Gullet Ahmed is accused of causing a high-speed crash while almost 4 times the blood alcohol limit, injuring 4 adults and killing a 16-year-old girl on Lygon Street. The Essendon man was taken into custody in March following a citizen's arrest, but today made a bid for bail, his lawyer arguing he had stable accommodation and support from his community. A mother and father required surgery after their car was hit. Their only child was left with life-threatening injuries and died 4 days later in hospital. They've suffered immeasurable amounts of grief. They've lost their daughter. 2 pedestrians were also injured after the family's car spun out of control. An officer told the court Ahmed showed no concern for any of his alleged victims before a magistrate refused his application for bail. His behaviour immediately post the incident, if true, was reprehensible.
Police allege Ahmed caused a crash in Parkville and ran a red light in North Melbourne, all before he arrived on Lygon Street. He's also accused of driving 102 kilometres per hour in a 40 zone.
The 40-year-old is yet to enter a plea. He'll be back in court in September. Estelle Greepink, 7 News.
A property in the Macedon Ranges has been raided after RSPCA officers were tipped off about illegal dog breeding. Almost 30 dogs, including Labradors, Golden Retrievers, Corgis and Poodles, were found in unsanitary conditions. The search warrant is believed to be connected with 2 other raids. More than 100 dogs have been brought into the Burwood shelter over the past 2 weeks as a result of raids or surrenders. More Melburnians are being tempted to flee the city to beat the cost of living crunch. New research shows a higher salary or a sea change is all it takes to trigger an urban exodus.
From Torquay to Bendigo and Bright, a fresh push tonight to get workers to the regions. A survey by the Regional Australia Institute found 90% of us could be persuaded to make a sea or tree change, especially if our pay goes up.
What we're seeing is higher levels of dissatisfaction amongst city dwellers with their current salaries.
There's certainly demand outside the city. Nationally, there were 91,000 regional jobs advertised in May, more than 14,000 of them in Victoria. That's a yearly increase of 7%.
I think our responsibility is to make sure that we are developing those opportunities across the state, whether that be in Melbourne CBD or whether that be in our regions.
On the V-line at Southern Cross this morning, plenty of regional residents coming in, some with little choice but to commute.
Probably not enough jobs in my field, yeah.
Coast remains king. More than half of the survey's respondents say they'd rather move to a town or a city with a beach over a location that's inland. The RAI estimates $1.7 billion in untapped wages exist in country areas.
If you're a nurse in the city, you can be a nurse in the country. But you can also have a career change. I think, we welcome that.
Blake Johnson, 7 News.
The search for a missing father has come to a heartwarming end, with the 62-year-old reunited with his family this morning. John Logan's wife and son issued an emotional plea to find him as he suffers from Alzheimer's. He was found safe and well in Armidale after spending 2 nights out in the cold. Tim Watson's here with a look ahead to sport. And Tim, the Demons have hit back at claims they're on the verge of squandering a dynasty.
They are, Mitch. We'll hear exclusively from Christian Petrarca shortly. Also coming up, a training mishap sends a young North Melbourne star to scans, plus major milestones at Carlton, 100 games for 2 Blues, and there were some Aussie heroics at Wimbledon and the Tour de France, all ahead in sport, Mitch.
See you then. Thank you, Tim. Families in Melbourne's southeast are fighting back to protect their children from drugs and crime. The details are next on 7 News. Also coming up, a 4-year-old in a vaping shock. An AFLW Premiership star's tragic diagnosis. The baby gorilla who's just made Australian medical history. Later, how to protect yourself from cyber criminals hacking and tracking your home cameras.
And the rain won't last. There are pockets of sunshine tomorrow. Full details later in 7 News.
A woman has been killed in a crash at Donald in the state's northwest during a tragic 24 hours on Victoria's roads. A second person was killed in a separate crash at Malvern East. A 57-year-old cyclist was hit by a car on Darling Road. The driver stopped at the scene, but the rider could not be revived. A third serious crash near Ballarat has left a man in his 20s fighting for life. He was flown to the Alfred Hospital after his Ford Falcon hit a Ranger ute. A showdown is brewing over a new public toilet in St Kilda. Parents from a local school fear it will become a drug zone as the local council prepares to hold a final vote tomorrow night.
These students don't want public toilets to mark the gateway to their school.
No dodgy dannies! No dodgy dannies!
What's special about your school?
That it's safe.
Parents stress they're not opposed to toilets on busy Fitzroy Street, but say Port Phillip Council has settled on the wrong location.
We don't believe out front of a school is the appropriate place, given the antisocial behaviour that occurs along Fitzroy Street.
Our kids are confronted by that every day, and I think that they have an awareness and a maturity that perhaps, is beyond their years. But even so, we don't want to put those risks directly in front of the school gate.
The council has spent 16 years trying to solve the dilemma of where to build the new toilet toilet block.
There's definitely a need for more public toilets. I think there's only one, and it's right at the end of the street down toward the beach.
There have been 18 proposed sites.
They've consulted with traders and local residents and been told no. They decided on this occasion to not consult a school that's been here since 1882.
Parents say discarded syringes are already an issue in the area. Over the month of May, council officers picked up 467 in and around Fitzroy and Ackland streets.
We just feel that is such a risky place to put these toilets when we do have a very good idea exactly how they're going to turn out.
Parents say they'll be watching on when councillors hold a final vote tomorrow night. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
A police investigation is underway after video emerged of a 4-year-old vaping inside a family home. The 16-year-old boy involved is believed to be the child's brother. South Australia's Police Commissioner says it appears to be a case of poor parenting. An Adelaide Crows premiership player who took her own life has become the first female footballer to be diagnosed with the deadly brain disease CTE. It's provided answers for her devastated family and prompted calls for change.
Heather Anderson was known for two things during her time at the Crows: courage and her pink helmet.
So I think it just gave Mum a sense of security knowing I was a little bit protected out there.
She played 8 games for the Crows, including the winning 2017 Grand Final, and enjoyed a career as an army medic. But on November 13 last year, the 28-year-old took her own life.
Today, we remember Heather.
Her parents went searching for answers, and today they've found some. An autopsy has revealed Heather was suffering from the degenerative brain disease CTE, a condition that can present with symptoms similar to Alzheimer's and depression.
Well, they were certainly devastated, but I think it also brought a sense of closure for them and a reason for explaining Heather's passing.
Heather is the first female athlete to be diagnosed with CTE. She suffered one known concussion in her career, but she'd been playing contact sport from the age of 5.
I just absolutely loved the contact and playing with the boys.
Experts predict in the years to come we'll start to see more female athletes suffering from CTE. But are women more at risk of the condition? Professor Pearce doesn't believe so. He says repeated trauma on any brain will have a lasting impact.
Even indirect hits can transmit the force to the brain and move the brain tissue.
Elspeth Hussey, 7 News.
A baby gorilla is beating the odds after a tough start to life. Keepers initially weren't sure he would survive after developing sepsis pneumonia. But 9 months on, he's growing fast, eating well and interacting with his gorilla family at a wildlife park on the New South Wales south coast. Childcare centres are gagging parents from speaking out in a new early education row. Details are coming up on 7 News. Also ahead, a terrifying slashing attack on Swanston Street. Hollywood heavyweight Robert De Niro rocked by tragedy. And the Toorak mega mansion that's about to be transformed into a cruise ship. A terrifying slashing attack has played out on Swanston Street, with innocent pedestrians coming just metres from a man carrying a knife. He slashed 4 bike tyres before police pounced, arresting him as he staggered away. Indonesian President Joko Widodo has spent the day meeting with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and business leaders in Sydney. He's keen to strike a deal for Australian lithium so Indonesia can develop electric car batteries.
Indonesia and Australia must build a more substantive and strategic economic cooperation through the joint production of EV batteries.
President Widodo's final term in office ends early next year. Childcare centres are calling for industrial action to force major change in the industry. But angry parents say they're the real victims, claiming some operators have increased fees to cash in on higher rebates from the federal government.
Pressure's pushing some childcare providers back to the drawing board.
It is really difficult at this time.
Juggling a staff shortage and skyrocketing costs, this centre is still keeping fees low.
Our priority is our families, and we understand that they're also going through financial strain.
New subsidies from the federal government mean parents should be paying less, but many aren't, because rogue centres have begun hiking fees.
It's just getting to the point of being ridiculous, especially when it costs more than your mortgage, then you've really got to think about it, hey?
Yeah. The Buildman's paying an extra $10 a day. One Sydney mum can't speak out.
Our daycare centre literally has a gag clause in their contract.
She won't be paying less either.
The same day we got an email about the fee hike, I saw the director of the centre driving a very nice brand new top-of-the-line Mercedes SUV.
The whole purpose of these subsidies was to take pressure off working families.
Operators stressing their profits have taken a hit too.
Many childcare providers are so fed up, 7 News can reveal they're now considering a coordinated strike, forming an alliance to lobby the government.
A coalition of more than 800 centres telling us several members have reached out proposing industrial action, calling for tax concessions, even a review of staff ratios, or the gates could shut. Serena Andaloro, 7 News.
Hollywood actor Robert De Niro says he's deeply distressed following the death of his 19-year-old grandson. Leandro De Niro Rodriguez had a role in the 2018 hit film A Star Is Born. The cause of death hasn't been revealed, but New York police say De Niro Rodriguez was found unconscious, unresponsive, and was pronounced deceased inside a Wall Street apartment. Australian researchers are toasting a breakthrough they hope will soon be able to stop people going blind from glaucoma. The genetic discovery is set to lead to early detection and new treatments.
Lines and numbers that are meaningless to most, but are exactly what researchers have been looking for.
This discovery we're reporting now is a major leap.
In a global study, researchers from QIMR Berghofer Institute identified 300 genes linked to glaucoma. The disease damages the eye, slowly robbing someone of their sight. 300,000 Australians have glaucoma, half don't know it yet. This breakthrough could lead to a simple new diagnosis.
Glaucoma is very highly genetic, and so a genetic test has a lot of promise.
Po Ling Tan was diagnosed with glaucoma in her early 50s, but she has hope for her grandchildren.
They're 4 and 7. By the time they get to 14 and 17, maybe these tests will be widely available.
The research also identified drugs currently on the market which could be repurposed to target glaucoma, including one currently given to diabetics. It means new treatments might not be far away. Volunteers are needed for another study.
If we get to 10,000, that would be amazing. That would help us develop a more accurate test.
Laura Dimmick, 7 News.
A Toorak mega mansion is about to be transformed into a 5-storey luxury home inspired by a cruise ship. The riverside property has been given the tick of approval to set sail.
Nestled in one of Melbourne's most lavish pockets, this St George's Road property has a date with a bulldozer to make way for this as the owner embarks on another voyage.
If you've got a big site with a hill and a view of the river, then it's probably quite a good shape.
On board, the 5-storey mega mansion will boast nothing but luxury.
There's only around 25 homes that actually face the Yarra on St George's Road, so to have something like this is quite unique.
The Toorak home last sold in 2017 for $6.2 million. The new landmark will be built over 1,000 square metres and it's smooth sailing ahead from council.
It just ticks all the boxes and it's really easy to approve something like this one.
It's also a bit sort of surprising and troubling maybe when we're in the middle of a housing crisis.
It's not the only property making waves. A Star Wars Imperial light cruiser is on the market in the Macedon Ranges.
Obviously, it's going to appeal to Star Wars fanatics, just people that are after really unique engineering and design and architecture, starting at $1,050,000.
As for what we might see next, just leave it to the imagination.
Architects and clients in particular are always looking to one-up each other. So what's the next big idea.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
Money experts are warning about an alarming new trend with buy now, pay later schemes. The details are next on 7 News. Also coming up, the Montague Street Bridge curse strikes again. A slippery hitchhiker delivers a freeway fright. And how to protect yourself from cyber criminals hacking and tracking your home cameras. That's just before Jane's weather. Melbourne's infamous Montague Street Bridge has claimed yet another victim with an overheight truck caught out this afternoon. The driver's failure to judge the 3-metre clearance caused delays through South Melbourne as emergency crews worked to clear the scene. Millions of mobile phone customers are paying more from today. Telstra has increased charges in line with inflation, adding between $3 and $6 a month, depending on your plan. Among the 3 biggest providers, Telstra's basic plan is the most expensive at $62 a month. The cheapest is Vodafone at $45 for 40 gigabytes. Optus is $4 more for less data. Time now to check the markets with finance editor Gemma Acton. Gemma, how did the share market react to the Reserve Bank's call to keep rates on hold?
With great enthusiasm. Right on the announcement, we can see the ASX 200 leapt from being in the red to firmly positive. Energy led the pack, with all Big Four banks also higher. The Aussie dollar stumbled on the rate decision but has since recovered, while gold is also regaining some lost ground. A key reason home values have held up in recent months is there are so few properties for sale, forcing buyers to bid up prices. The latest data shows new listings, those put on the market within the past month, have fallen by 11% in the past year. Meantime, older listings are now taking longer to find buyers.
Gemma Acton reporting. A growing number of Australians are missing mortgage repayments and even skipping meals to pay their buy now, pay later accounts. Financial experts warn apps like Afterpay and Zip are trapping people in a cycle of debt.
Buy now, pay later has gone beyond satisfying a splurge.
With mounting cost of living pressures, people are turning to this easy credit to make ends meet.
Used for groceries, petrol, the dentist, and to avoid penalties, research by Finder shows 2.8 million Australians have put their buy now, pay later payments before other bills. 14% saying they'd skipped a power bill, 11% going without a meal, 9% missing a mortgage payment.
Setting themselves up for disaster with other things like increased energy prices and the rising cost of food.
Financial counsellors say some try to deal with the debt by opening up more buy now, pay later accounts.
With concerns about the growing pressure on families, today more help for more people to be able to afford a car without getting caught in a debt spiral.
This year we have issued more no-interest loans than in any years previously.
Good Shepherd with the federal government and NAB making more people eligible for loans of up to $3,000 without interest.
It is a really important alternative to things like payday lending or loan sharks. Transport is critical to stay connected with community, connected with job, ensure kids can get to school.
Paul Kadak, 7 News.
A cold-blooded hitchhiker has given a driver and his passenger a real fright during a road trip in New South Wales.
What is he doing? He's looking at you. He's posing.
That's really cute, to be honest. Oh, look, he's coming around here.
Oh my god!
They can't slither in, right?
It didn't appear to. Nothing to worry about. The travellers were planning to pull over and call a snake catcher. Sport is next with Tim Watson. And Tim, a premiership demon has been ruled out for up to 2 months.
He has, Mitch, but there is a silver lining at Melbourne. Details ahead. Also an eye-watering injury to a North Melbourne star. Hear from him next. The accusations continue ahead of the Ashes grudge match at Headingley. And Aussie's epic Wimbledon comeback sets up a dream showdown with Novak Djokovic and a drama-plagued finish at the Tour de France. Welcome back. The Demons have just been dealt a major injury blow with a premiership star undergoing surgery. Mitch Cleary has the details. And Mitch, Bailey Fritsch could be out until the finals.
Tim, it is a major blow. Fritsch going under the knife this morning to repair his fractured foot that will keep him out for 2 months, right on the cusp of finals for Melbourne's leading goal kicker for the last 3 seasons. It is better news for Clayton Oliver, hopeful but not certain of returning this Saturday night against St Kilda, having missed the last 5 games with a hamstring injury. Buddy Franklin locked in here at the MCG on Thursday night is what he's expected to be his MCG farewell after a number of weeks out with a knee injury. Not such good news for Brodie Mychek though at Collingwood. He'll miss the clash with the Dogs with hamstring tightness, but it's a big watch on the D's and how they address their wayward goal kicking in front of the big sticks. The face of Melbourne's inefficiency, Christian Petrarca says he and the Demons only have themselves to blame.
I think, I could put the onus on myself and the other mids. I think we've got to be more careful, being more, calm with the footy. We need to take our time more, not just rush, not just kick it on the person who's leading's head. We actually got to give them a chance to mark it.
The Alice Springs shocker coming after the Demons had 73 inside 50s. Petrarca himself kicking 0 goals for, taking his tally to 46 shots this year for just 12 goals.
It is frustrating. I consider myself a little bit perfectionist sometimes and I get frustrated, but for me, I look at the opportunities that I'm getting. My set shot accuracy has gone up a lot from last year. I'm at 58% this year, which is above league average, which I'm really happy with. But it's the ones where I feel like I have enough time to sort of take a few extra steps, be more calm with the footy.
Now taking on different steps to address his flaws.
Doing more is probably actually more detrimental, I think. I think backing yourself, your processing and understanding that it will turn and doing a lot of more visualizations type stuff as well. It's just, picturing yourself in those moments. What does it feel like? It's really basic stuff. It's almost just like watching a movie of yourself.
Petrarca today launching Red Bull's Meet the Pro campaign for fans. Saturday night, he hopes to finally meet Clayton Oliver at the centre bounce against St Kilda.
It's been tough. I mean, he's been kind of my partner in crime for 4 or 5 years now in the midfield, so it's been tough to have him out there. But yeah, I'm pretty confident. I hope he is too.
Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
Alastair Clarkson will start meeting with senior players ahead of his return to Arden Street. The North Melbourne coach has an exciting prospect waiting for him, with the son of a club favourite poised for a debut.
A chance to impress their youngest fans, also their toughest critics.
There's some hard-hitting questions by the primary school kids. I tell you what, they're always asking us why aren't we winning games?
But not to be blamed on the absence of coach Alastair Clarkson. Jai Simpkin meeting him this Friday as he eases back into the club.
Just chatted to him a few times and he seems like he's doing really well. So, I'm just pumped to be able to catch up with him, talk footy and, get the team back on track.
A regular at footy clinics years ago, Brent Harvey's son Cooper has been rising up the ranks, kicking 5 in the VFL over the weekend.
There's a strong chance Cooper Harvey could make his debut this weekend, continuing the family legacy at Arden Street.
He's a great character to have around the club and obviously with the famous name of a Harvey, I'm sure the fans are pumped as well.
Kangaroos midfielder Will Phillips was on the wrong side of a training mishap this morning, sent for scans after an ugly knock to the face.
Paul Curtis, just a little elbow in a tackling incident, but no bad blood between us.
Phillips waiting to see if there's structural damage. At Carlton, a milestone for Nick Newman, set to play game 100 alongside Charlie Curnow on Sunday.
Both sort of had long-term knee injuries at the same time, so to now be able to play 100 together is pretty cool.
The defender optimistic about his future, out of contract this year.
I still think I've got plenty to give, so and love being here, so it'll work itself out.
Laura Spurway, 7 News.
The bitter fallout from the Lord's Ashes test continues, with Travis Head accusing Johnny Bairstow of trying to run him out in the series opener in the same fashion as that controversial dismissal by Alex Carey.
I sort of reminded Johnny last week I walked out of my crease in Edgbaston at the end of it over and the ball got whipped in and I quickly whipped my bat back and questioned Johnny on would you take the stumps, and he said bloody oath I would and ran off.
The Aussie women can retain the Ashes with a win in tomorrow's second T20 at the Oval. Jordan Thompson faces the toughest task in tennis after setting up a second-round showdown at Wimbledon against Novak Djokovic. The Aussie world number 70 came from 2 sets down to beat American Brandon Nakashima. Djokovic played groundsman in his first round win after a downpour delayed it for over an hour.
Every time I come out, I normally come out with rackets, not with towels.
Fellow Aussie Alexander Vukic is also through to the second round. Australian Caleb Ewan was denied a sixth Tour de France stage win on the line on day 3. Belgium's Jasper Philipsen won, edging out Wout van Aert and Ewan in third. Brit Adam Yates retained the yellow jersey. And those kids, they always ask the tough questions, Mitch.
Brutally honest, aren't they? Straight to the point. Thank you very much,
Very difficult
Tim.
to work with sometimes.
Cam-fecting is a new term that could spell danger for Melbourne families. Next, how to protect yourself from cyber criminals targeting cameras in the home and office. Also, Jane Bunn with the forecast. Jane, how much longer will the rain last?
Well, Mitch, it should actually clear out by dawn tomorrow. We could have a fair bit of sunshine. I'll have full details shortly.
The new power plan's unveiled. What you need to know before the next bill arrives. Expert advice on finding the best deals on 7 News at 6.
Victorians are being warned to check their cameras as cyber criminals target devices in the home and office. It sparked a new campaign to protect users from blackmail and extortion.
Watch out. Someone could be watching, even filming you through the cameras on your devices.
I don't think people know the risks associated.
It's called cam-fecting, a silent assault by cyber criminals who slip malicious software into your laptop or smartphone via email or text links.
The malware that could do this is quite prevalent.
By gaining access to cameras, criminals can secretly spy, record videos and blackmail users.
Most of the motives, it will be financial.
Even surveillance cameras are at risk.
Any type of camera that has access to software, any camera would have a risk of cam-fitting.
A new international campaign highlights the dangers, especially for those who don't change default passwords on new devices.
Easy. Too easy.
Signs your camera may be hacked include a blinking indicator light, a fast-draining battery, random apps appearing, or the device freezing and crashing.
First thing is change your password straight away.
Vigilance, the key to ever-increasing threats.
And make sure your footage is clean. And just enjoy the technology.
Jackie Quist, 7 News.
Now here's Jane with the weather.
Thank you, Mitch. It began raining this morning and, as expected, it really didn't stop for most of the day. In that steady rain, the temperature doesn't move much. However, it did rise a degree higher than the very cold forecast. It reached a top of 13.6. The rain is light, but it's fairly steady, and it's coming down from the north, so it affects both sides of the bay. This activity will continue through the evening into tomorrow morning, and quite a few spots did stop rising at 12. The cloud is very low in northern Victoria and the paddocks are very wet. Very different to the high cloud we had yesterday where you could see well above the alpine peaks. Today's cloud covers the state while the rain is heavier in the north. There was 11 millimetres in Mildura, nearly 30 up in the Grampians, but just a millimetre or two generally in the south as that is the drier side of the ranges in this weather system. Our rain is the last part of that big out-of-season rain that has affected northern Australia for the last week and a half. Up there, it was 50 to 100 millimetres or more. For us, it is just here, the leftovers. Over in the west, a strong cold front has run out of puff. That'll just slide away tomorrow. We won't see anything from that one. But we will get the front in behind it, set to cross Victoria on Thursday, followed by another one on Saturday. So, in a nutshell, this rain doesn't last. We're back to dry weather tomorrow. The next burst of wet weather arrives later on Thursday, and Saturday is the next proper wet day. Around the nation tomorrow, the rain clears Brisbane early in the morning. They'll have a sunny Wednesday. They were only 19 today, back up to 24 tomorrow. We have fog then sunshine for Sydney. Adelaide dry all day before showers there at night. Showers for Perth, they'll clear out during the afternoon. To Victoria, by dawn, there's hardly anything left. Showers continue in the morning about the eastern ranges here and parts of Gippsland, but it should be dry from the morning across much of the north and west. Now, it's quite sunny west of about Shepparton, and there are areas of sunshine in the south, but a large area of low grey cloud does linger in the northeast for a chilly day there tomorrow. Closer in, the last of the rain clears the far east around dawn. After that, it should be all dry. We'll even have pockets of sunshine mixed in with a bit of leftover cloud. Now, in these sunny pockets, the temperature rises. But do look out, a northerly wind is picking up. The city should jump up to 15 degrees in a mix of sun and some cloud. We are dry after dawn. To the 8-day outlook, it remains dry during the day on Thursday, another top of 15. Then we'll have a burst of showers at night, but the northerly wind is strong on Thursday. And those windy conditions continue right through to Sunday. On Friday, a repeat. Generally dry during the day, burst of showers at night. Lots of those showers moving through. It is a wet day on Saturday and then just 13 for Sunday, but a 16 in our future. Dry after dawn tomorrow, a mix of sun and cloud. 15 tomorrow, Mitch.
OK, thank you very much, Jane. And that's the way it is this Tuesday, the 4th of July. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.
Stream 7 News anytime, live and on demand on 7 Plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.